What if I told you that your retirement doesn't have to look like ETFs and stocks and mutual funds? What if instead I told you that you could have checkbook access to your 401k? The ability to buy businesses, invest in real estate, invest in crypto, loan money, and even maybe take loans from it. Many people would say the IRS would say this is illegal. They're wrong. Today I'm breaking down self-directed IRA, checkbook IRA, and my favorite, the solo 401k. These are how real investors are taking back control of their retirement money. Most people think they can only buy Fund A or Fund B or a mutual fund or a stock in their retirement fund. But the truth is, Congress only banned two things: life insurance and collectibles. Let's talk about how you can legally self-direct your retirement and even turn it into a checkbook. These three have a lot of similarities, so I'm going to go fast through them, and I'm going to spend the most time on the solo 401k. A self-directed IRA is just like an IRA, but instead of being stuck holding stocks and bonds and mutual funds, you can now buy crypto, real estate, private lending. You can do that with all three of these vehicles. With a self-directed IRA specifically, the catch is there has to be a custodian that holds the money. They have to approve all your transactions and they have to write all your checks. My experience with using a self-directed option was it was expensive. I had to pay somebody to write every time I needed a check. I did not own real estate back then. I actually invested in a business, which was a great way to do it. But from what I saw, if I had bought real estate, every time I would need to pay for the repair or maintenance person to come to my house and do something, I would have had to pay a fee for my self-directed broker to write a check to issue it to that vendor. I also had to pre-coordinate everything. So if I got a really good deal on a Friday talking to somebody and I was able to make a deal, I probably lost the deal if I had to move fast because I had to coordinate everything with that self-directed custodian. So I was constantly waiting on paperwork, custodian fees, and custodian approval. It's a great thing for long-term deals, things that take time to mature and the discussions that come through and people have the time to wait. But it's terrible if you need to move fast. Which brings me to a little better option called the Checkbook IRA. Here I have control and speed. I become my own custodian. I have a checkbook access to this account. Here's how it works. You form an LLC with a professional's help. Your IRA owns 100% of that LLC. You become the manager of the LLC. Your IRA has one asset, and that is that LLC. The money moves from your IRA into your LLC's bank account. And now you have instant access to funds. And again, people love this because there's no custodial delays, no check pre-approvals or writing. You can buy and sell or invest immediately, and you have strong asset protection in that LLC. And it's a clean structure. Your IRA owns the LLC, and the LLC owns all the assets. I actually didn't have a checkbook IRA because there's one little catch. It's an important reminder. If you don't follow the IRS rules perfectly, you could blow up the whole transaction and be taxed for everything. That brings me to the solo 401k. This is the most powerful tool I've ever seen when it comes to how to make your retirement money work for you outside of the stock market. Similar to all the other IRAs, the solo 401k has no custodian. You are the custodian. You are the plan administrator. You can have a local bank account with the local branch right around the corner. And the contributions limits are massive. How do I know if I qualify? Well, you must be self-employed, meaning you have Schedule C income, but that can be from a side hustle. You can't have any W-2 employees besides your spouse. And something that a lot of people don't realize, you can actually have a 401k with a current employer. So I can have a full-time job, have a side hustle. If my side hustle has Schedule C income, boom, I can open a solo 401k. I can combine that solo 401k with my wife's 401k. We can have a collective joint 401k. Let's talk about contribution limits. If I'm under the age of 50, I can put in $24,500. My employer, which if you think about what I'm saying, my employer is my side hustle, my LLC, a place where only myself and potentially my spouse are employed by, can put in up to $72,000 total. Let's talk about contribution limits. If I'm under the age of 50, I can put in $24,500. If I'm 50 to 59, I can put in an additional $8,000. And if I'm 60 to 63, I can put in an additional $11,250. But here's what's awesome about the solo 401k. Just like you may have an employer match with your regular job, your employer, which in this case, which is that side hustle or that LLC, can contribute as well. If you're under the age of 50, the total with your contribution can be up to $72,000. 50 to 59 can be up to $80,000. 60 to 63 can be $83,250. Talk about the power of that. You can now get an employer contribution from your side hustle into your 401k. And this is a 401k, so you can borrow from it. The same IRS rules apply. I can borrow 50% up to $50,000 from a 401k. There's no credit checks, and I'm basically paying myself back interest, 1% over prime. Sounds too good to be true? Remember, I said there's a couple things the IRS was very specific that you could not invest in. You cannot invest in life insurance, and you cannot invest in collectibles. But that's it. But there is a catch on some self-dealing. Whenever I go to do something, I cannot make money on it personally. If I have a rental property or something of that nature that has income, the money has to go back to the 401k. If I were to buy an Airbnb in a place, I could never go to the Airbnb and stay even one night. I can't go to do repairs. There's very little I can do in regards to that. So you have to make sure you have a firewall between you and your assets. I also can't have my mom and dad, my kids, or my spouse do anything on that property. There is a little gray area. It says I can have my siblings do it, but you have to be very careful again. Case in point, if my parents had a house and they sold it to my sister, and then my sister turned around and sold it to me, that could be looked as self-dealing. So you have to be very above and well document everything you do here. In fact, I would just recommend avoiding transactions like that altogether. But just to recap, all the people that I just mentioned are called disqualified people. So not only can I not go to the Airbnb, neither can they. Just like me, now I can't rent to them. They can't use that Airbnb. I can't sell anything to them, and I can't lend them money. In other words, you can buy the dream real estate Airbnb that you want. You just can't stay at it. You'll have to rent it out. And I really believe that the solo 401k is a game changer because you have direct access to what you're trying to do. You can roll over old accounts into it. You get massive tax deductions. You protect your assets. You control your estate planning. And you move fast like a real investor would versus having to wait for the stock market to open or to get approvals from some custodian. And the solo 401k is just like any other 401k. There are Roth components. There's ways to backdoor the Roth. So think about that as a Roth. You can buy an asset that will appreciate over time. You won't have to pay taxes on it because you've already paid taxes on it, or an investment property that you're going to get rent on every month and it appreciates. When you go to retire, that money will all be tax free to you. And imagine getting into a company that maybe 10 years ago was having financial troubles, and maybe you bought it for $1, $2. Imagine over time that that company's stock went from $1 or $2 to maybe 100 or split, and maybe it's worth a bunch of money. Or maybe you had some crypto gains because you can buy crypto too. Maybe you got lucky with some altcoin several years ago, and that altcoin 100x'd. That money could be tax-free if it was a Roth. Think about that. It's so powerful. As always, this is not personal financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you some of the vehicles that I've used to get me to where I am today. And you need to talk to a qualified professional to set one of these up. I love the solo 401k. It's super powerful. This is how serious investors play the game. If you want more information, I'm going to have some links down below. Again, not personal financial advice. You need to talk to a professional to set up your account. And stick around because in a future video, I'm going to talk about how to use your 401k to borrow money to buy real estate. The actual 401k will be the entity borrowing money, not you, your 401k. Stick around, like and subscribe. Thank you for your support.